A problem in projectile motion, a baseball is thrown at an angle of 60 degrees above the horizontal, strikes a building 18 meters away at a point 8 meters above the point from which it is thrown. So basically, ignore air resistance, find the magnitude of the initial velocity of the ball. So this is all we have to do is simply draw. Let's figure out what the problem is all about. So this is being fired with an unknown magnitude VO at some angle 60 degrees. And this um, projectile strikes a building 18 meters away. So meaning to say its range ngayang na-reach kay 18 meters. So kani horizontal. Yes, this will be 18 meters ng measurement. Okay, so you'll have 18 meters. And then you'll have at a point 8 meters above from the point in which it is thrown. So all you have to do is to itog pa siya 8 meters above. Okay, shall we say kana? This is 8 meters. Okay, so here, okay, so kaniya. This is simply 8 meters nga height. Okay, so we are asked for the magnitude of the initial velocity of the ball. So it is highly suggested to look for the x and y components of the initial velocity. So inyong pangitawon si Vox. This will be your Vox and your Voy. Okay, so here, this time, though wala siya value, still, we'll have to look for that two components there. So you'll have VO cosine 60. It's on the adjacent side of angle 60. And then you'll have VOY VO sine 60. Next is that there are another given two ng mga variables. This is the initial point of the ball. And then this is the final point of the ball. So its range x sub O is equal to 0, right? Nasa origin. And your range final horizontal niya is simply 18 meters. Next, its y sub O is simply equal to 0. And its final height is simply equal to 8 meters. So here, kung naganing range, so most likely kay makakalculate ta og time. There are many unknown givens here, so most likely here, since given man ang range, no? So maghatag siya og kanang another, we can solve for the expression for your time. So to solve for time t, we'll use equation 2 of the x component. So x component. So you'll have here x minus x sub 0, and then you'll have voxt. So here x sub O is simply equal to 0. So we can substitute here x given 18 meters, and then you'll have Vox, which is equal to VO cosine 60 times time. So if you'll notice, there are one equation and then two unknowns. So impossible na siya ma-solve, no, kung daghan yung unknown kaysa equation. So we'll call this one as equation 1. So the other equation kay kwaon nato sa y component. So here mangita taog equation nga suitable. So if you'll notice, the moment it strikes through this building, na siya final velocity mga bata, v. So na siya vx, vy. Pero ang tendency is that siya nga equation ng walay final velocity. So that would be your equation 2. So here, using equation 2 of the y component, and then i-manipulate na to ang duha ka equation dayon of the y component. So you'll have here y minus y sub 0, and then you'll have v sub oyt minus 1 half gt squared. Y na value 8 meters, but y sub o is simply equal to 0. More ma 0 mga bata. So you'll have y is equal to, your VOY is equal to VO sine 60 times time. Okay, again, what ay time? Pero na expression sa time diri. By manipulating this equation, 1. Your time is simply equal to x, 18 man na siya na all over, VO cosine 60. Okay, later na ako sa final answer, substitute ang mga given. So this time, substitute this expression here. So you'll have x over VO cosine 60 minus 1 half g, and then you'll have t squared. So kanigyapon nga expression. So you'll have x over VO cosine 60. So this time na mag-cancel out, right? Mag-cancel out timong VO, and na identity sine 60 over cos 60. So making it tangent, so you'll have x tangent 60 degrees minus 1 half g, and then you'll have to distribute x squared sa whole parenthesis, so you'll have gx squared, and then you'll have VO squared cos squared 60. So here, we're gonna manipulate this entire equation in such a way nga kani ang gawas. So all we have to do is simply exchange nato ning one kani nga expression kani nga y. So you'll have here 1 half g x squared all over VO squared cos squared 60 is equal to x tangent 60 minus y. Okay, and at the same time, mag-divide ta og manipulate nato ni or exchange nato ni silang duha mga bata. Kaning entire expression diri by mag-divide ta nga expression both sides sa equation. So you'll have here VO squared is equal to 1 half gx squared all over x tangent 60 minus y cosine squared 60. And then you'll have to square root the entire term. So ang tendency here, VO is simply equal to square root of, you'll have 1 half times 9.8 times 18 squared all over 8 tangent 60, 18 tangent 60 minus 8 times cosine squared 60. So your initial velocity, the magnitude of the initial velocity is equal to 16.6 meters per second. Okay, so we have that answer there. So all we have to do then next be find the magnitude and the direction of the velocity of the ball just before it strikes the building. So it's asking for the final velocity v here, this one. So now we can solve now for the values of this VOX and VOY. So all you have to do is to substitute 16.6 cosine 60 and 16.6 sine 60. So the answers will be, you'll have 8.3 meters per second, and the other one is simply 14.4 meters per second. So for letter B is that you're asked to find for your Vx and Vy, and then you're gonna use Pythagorean theorem in order to solve for the magnitude. Okay, and then for the direction using tangent function. Okay, the trigonometric functions Vy over Vx, or opposite over the adjacent. So this time for Vx here, you already know that if you try to check the x component class, your final is equal to your initial. So meaning to say, your Vox is equal to Vx, which is equal also to 8.3 meters per second. Now, for Vy, all you have to do is simply look for the y component. And there are given mga bata, no? Nasa babaw ang mga given. Okay, here, I'm sorry. Here, so you're gonna look for Vy, so equation 1, is it possible? There's no time, so pangit man mag-solve with time. So we'll use equation 4 for this case. Okay, so you'll have using equation 4, you'll have Vy squared minus Voy squared is equal to negative 2g y minus y sub 0. Okay, so here, wala mag-0, but here your initial height lang ang the only thing na mag-0. So Vy is equal to, transpose this one to the other side, so mga positive minus 2gy squared. Okay, so you'll have here your Voy is 14.4, so you'll have 14.4 meters per second quantity squared minus 2 times 9.8 meters per second squared times its final height 8 meters. So your Vy, there are two answers actually since it's a radical sign. So ang tendency you'll have the answer will be 7.11 meters per second. But take note that it's lying along the fourth quadrant, mga bata. So meaning to say this is positive with Vx, and meaning to say this is downward with Vy. Okay, so basically you're gonna choose the negative sign, minus minus 7.11 meters per second. So for the magnitude, we use Pythagorean theorem and tangent function for its magnitude, rather for its direction.